as the stool. Said it's like stool. So there's some noise.
Ape, sorry mate, there's a terrible lot of interference this end.
Yeah, there's some noise. It's not coming from here.
Do you want to click out and click back in?
Hang on, it's just stopped. The noise has stopped. I know, but the power just got cut off.
Well, you and I are okay, but it came...
Yeah, now Gulshan's disappeared.
Yeah. There he is.
And the power has got cut off.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, that's good. So far, so good. Yeah, so Prabhupada had said one time that the hair is as dirty as stool. So definitely there's many benefits of cutting the hair, keeping it short. And of course it looks, like Prabhupada said, a devotee should look like a perfect gentleman, not like a hippie. He didn't like the hippie look. Just if the hair gets long and dirty and tangled and everything like that. And it's actually predicted, because the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, was composed about 5,000 years ago by Srila Vyasadeva, who's an incarnation of God. It's mentioned there in the 12th canto, which is the last canto, the last chapter of the text, that what the future will be like in Kali Yuga. So it's predicting the future of Kali Yuga. Because when it was composed, it was the end of the previous age, Dwapara Yuga. Kali Yuga just began when the Bhagavatam was composed. Krishna had just left. So it was telling that in the future, in Kali Yuga, like what the time we're in now, that the men will have long hair. So previously it wasn't like that. Previously, men used to have short hair and the ladies used to have long hair. That was traditional. Ladies have long hair, of course, and then the men would have short hair. But it was predicted that in Kali Yuga, one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga would be that the men would have long hair. And we see that's become very popular, that men have long hair. But it's not actually not traditional, and there's disadvantages of having long hair for a man. Of course, for a woman, it's said to be very good to have long hair. It's said that if a woman cuts her hair, it shortens the husband's lifespan. How about that?
And if before marriage, it's not good for her father. If she cuts that hair, before marriage, it's not good for her father. After marriage, not good for the husband.
Okay, and one reason at least why that's said like that if a woman cuts her hair, it shortens the husband's lifespan, is because it's said that long hair for a woman helps to keep her mind peaceful. And so obviously if the woman cuts her hair and the mind is less peaceful, means more disturbed, if she's disturbed, obviously the husband's life becomes disturbed, and then his lifespan gets potentially reduced. So we want the woman to be shanti.
That's why your life is very peaceful. That's why your life is very peaceful. I know that now.
And oh, that's so nice. Josh has joined us. Wonderful.
Josh.
Wonderful.
Hello. Wait a minute. I can't switch on my speaker video. Goodness.
Oh, there you are. Oh, that's great. Great to see you, Josh.
Well, I'm driving through the country, so look, I probably will drop out of reception, but we'll just see what we can do,
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Lovely to catch a glimpse of you anyway. That's wonderful.
Same as you guys. Same to you.
yeah. But interesting, because we just started talking about here, Josh, because Bob was mentioning about my short hair. But in the Vaishnav tradition, even though often the man cuts his hair, but keeps this tuft of hair at the back. There's actually you know, an energy point here, a chakra. I think it's called Brahmarandra. So it's this is the highest chakra energy point in the body, and this is the one that actually the yogis try to leave the soul at the time of death. That the yogi tries to leave the body through this one. So Josh would know a lot about this, by controlling the prana, the life air, through his you know, yoga exercises, and they plug the different other holes so the soul doesn't pop out the other holes. That with their hands and that, they have a way of plugging all the holes, and then and through the controlling the air movements through the pranayama, they push the soul up to that top one. And it's actually very soft here. It said it's very soft, especially babies. You can see that the baby's head has a very soft point there, where the skull isn't very thick. The skull, not much skull there at one point, and just the skin and that there. So they try to push the soul out through that, and it's said if the soul leaves through the top of the head, they'll achieve a much better destination, a higher destination. So it talks about that a little bit in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Josh, do you want to say anything about that?
I don't really know that much. I mean, so yeah, I mean, about the soul popping out of the head, that sort of stuff. Like, you know, common chakra yoga is you know, the 6 chakras that are kind of within human existence in a sense, and then the 7th one being completely out the top and completely non-dual awareness and all this sort of thing. You know, and there's different models, but that's the one that got really popular in the last couple of 100 years. Is just, you know, six in the humanish sphere, and then one that just it's the one that has, you know, they use words like they say it's like 1,000,000 billion chakras are out there, 1,000,000 billion times as intense. Yeah,
transcend through the top chakra. So
yeah, like the challenge is like people are seeking to get access to that top one because it is just so wild. But like the challenge in the dual world is that we want to get there, but we don't want to just fall asleep. Like a person will tend to just go into meditation, and as they move up the chakras, up that sort of thing, then they'll just fall asleep, you know. Or they'll take a psychedelic drug and they'll get artificially boosted up there, and then when it wears off, they'll come back down again and they'll be deranged.
Okay.
So the process of yoga is to try to get you up there in a way that's sustainable, safe, healthy, and doesn't have any nasty surprises.
Yes, that makes sense. So having here in that place where the chakra is to protect that area a little bit. So that's why the Vaishnavas keep some hair on that point to give some protection at that point. And also there's energy is generated there. So actually it's said that energy there gets stored in the hair. So if you cut that off, then the energy can't be stored there. There's actually that in the Western mythology or whatever, there's the story about, what was his name? That very strong man named Samson. You know that one, Samson?
Delilah. Sure.
Yeah.
Delilah, I think.
He had it in his hair.
Yeah. So they were unable to control him until something happened. What did they do?
They cut his hair.
Yeah, they cut his hair. So when they cut his hair, then he lost a lot of his strength, and they were able to control him. But until that point, he was invincible. So yeah, he had a lot of energy stored there in the hair. And even in the Indian history, even in our line, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, some of you would know about him, there was one yogi that was imitating God, that he was promoting that he was Bhagavan, and that he would also imitate God's pastimes. So we know one of his pastimes is the Rasa Leela, where Krishna dances with the beautiful cowherd girls of Vrindavan. So he was, this rascal was imitating these pastimes too. So he would get these women to join him and dancing in the night or whatever, and actually he would have like illicit sex with them, and there would be children and so forth like that. So it became a big hue and cry, and because in traditional Indian culture that's not good at all to have that happening outside of marriage and that. So there was a lot of disturbance that he created. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was actually a court magistrate, a judge like that. So he was brought in to deal with this guy. This is at the time when the British were ruling India, more than a couple hundred years ago, I suppose, about a couple hundred. And so they grabbed this guy, and this yogi threatened Bhaktivinoda Thakur. You better not do anything with me, otherwise you're gonna I'll kill you all. You're all gonna die. I'll kill you and your family, because he had some yogic powers, and he would misuse them. And but Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't care. He was very upset that this guy was promoting that he was God, and cheating so many innocent people and spoiling their lives and everything like that. So he threw the guy in jail. And sure enough, as the yogi said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his whole family got a terrible fever, and they were on the verge of dying, very high fever. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur's wife said, "You should let the yogi go." And Bhaktivinoda was staunch, better we die than let this guy go. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gave the order that cut the yogi's hair. Cut the yogi's hair. That's where he's keeping his power. So they cut his hair, and sure enough, then the fever went away. All the problems went away. The guy lost his energy, and then he actually committed suicide. The guy killed himself like that. So yeah, so energy is kept there in the hair. So that's an interesting one. So yeah, it's good to have short hair, but yeah, if you do shave your head, keep some hair there on that chakra point is good to do. So that's a little side story.
You have to have a partner to maintain that. You can't do it by yourself.
Oh, you can. It's a little bit tricky, but what some devotees do, they have like a lid to like a shaving foam bottle or something like that, a lid. You just put the cup.
And then surrounding all that.
Then you just go around it. I've done that. You can do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can get other guys to do it. You don't have to have a wife to get that done, or get the barber to do it. But if you want to save money, just get one of your mates to go around and do that, like that, or do it with the cup thing like that. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's said like that. Okay, let's get into it. Let's offer respect to the spiritual master. Om Jnana Timrandasya Shalakaya Chakshuanmiltamena Tasmai Shri Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master has opened my eyes with the shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances under his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So where we're up to is the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, text 20. So we read the verse and the translation last week, but we didn't get into the purport. So we'll get into the purport today. So this section is dealing with different paths that the living entity takes in the material world. So there's different options, because why don't we all just go down the same path? It's because we're all individual. That's important, to understand. We're not all, we're all the same in that we all come from the same source. We all come from the Supreme Being, from the Purusha, from Bhagavan, the Supreme Person. We're all energies. We're all energetically the same, that we all come from the same Supreme entity. We're all eternal spirit souls. So we all have the same qualities, like we're all eternal, that's the same. Our nature is to be full of consciousness, knowledge, that's the same. And our nature is to be blissful, that's the same. But what's different is that we all have individuality. We all have our different likes and dislikes and different desires and things like that, personality. Just like no two bodies look exactly the same, but also spiritually, apart from the physical differences, that we have different personality traits eternally, different likes and dislikes and so forth. So, and why is that? And that's because Krishna's expanded himself into all of us for the purpose of enjoyment. And like they say, variety is the mother of enjoyment. Variety is the spice in life. So if we're all exactly the same, then that'd be pretty boring, for Krishna to have a relationship with us. So he makes us very different. So, and he enjoys that variety. So also we see in the material world, we've left our connection with the Supreme Being, and we've come into Maya, into illusion. But even though we've come into illusion, still the differences are there, the variety is there. So we take different paths. So as mentioned in text 19, that some souls, they are seekers. They are searching for knowledge. We read previously about 4 kinds of pious souls. And what were they? Does anyone remember the 4 kinds of pious souls? 4 kinds of pious souls that come to 4 kinds of pious souls that come to the Supreme, that come to God.
You're not talking about the needy, the inquisitive.
Yeah, you're onto it. You're onto it, Bob.
Right.
Yeah, so one who's in need of wealth, and inquisitive, and in distress.
The ones that are in it for money.
Yeah, that's in need of wealth. Yeah, money.
And the one is looking for truth.
And looking for truth. Yeah. So a pious soul comes to God when either they're in distress, or they're searching for wealth, or inquisitive, or searching for the truth. So there are souls like that are inquisitive, that are searching, and in their life they slowly accumulate more and more knowledge. And then when they die, also the next life accumulate more knowledge, and then next life more knowledge. So life after life they get more and more knowledge. And then when the knowledge is full, when they have full realization of self-realization, God realization, when that's complete, then they realize what is the absolute truth, who is the absolute truth, and they surrender to the Supreme with having that full realization, that full knowledge. So that's one path, that the living entity gets more and more knowledge. In the human form of life, gets more and more knowledge. Life after another human form gets more and more enlightened. But another path is mentioned here in text 20, that they go down the path of material desires, of calm. They have material desires, so they go down that path. So you could go down the path of searching for the truth, being inquisitive for the truth, or you could go down the path of fulfilling different desires. We have desires to gratify the tongue, gratify the belly, the genitals, so forth, to accumulate wealth. We desire that. Power, fame. There's so many desires. There's thousands of, to get a big house, to get, a beautiful woman, whatever, lots of children, or whatever. So many, to travel the world or whatever. There's so many desires, to fly, to swim, to run fast, like that. So there's so many desires. To look beautiful, to be handsome, that. Those many desires. So that's what this verse is talking about. And as we mentioned last week, that one of the results of going down that path of material desires is that our original knowledge gets covered by that. So if you go down the path of material desires, one of the effects is it covers our knowledge. And what kind of knowledge? It covers the knowledge of that we're a soul, that we're an eternal soul. It covers the knowledge of that there's a supreme soul, God, and it covers the knowledge of our relationship. So that knowledge becomes covered over and gets replaced by the idea that we're the body and that we can enjoy the body. Because if that's what you want, if Krishna sees that, well, you want to enjoy in this material world sense gratification, then it's not going to be compatible if you're thinking that you're a soul and that there's God. You're not going to be able to enjoy the senses in the body if you're thinking about the soul. So all that knowledge about the soul gets forgotten, gets covered over. So that's one path. And in order to fulfill those desires, as mentioned in this verse, then some people, they take up worshipping different demigods. So in many old cultures, they talk about beings that control different aspects of nature, like the god of the wind, the god of the oceans, a god of the sun, a god of the moon, a god of the forests and the flowers and so the herbs and different things like that. So in Vedic culture, it's understood there's 33 million demigods. So they have different controlling administrative powers in the universe. They're also living entities like us. They're not God, but they have some specific power bestowed on them by the Supreme. So many people worship them. If they want money, for example, they might worship Ganesh. He's quite well known to help one to become very rich. If one wants a good, a very beautiful wife, or a very nice husband, one may worship Shiva, Durga, like that. They're very well known to help in those kind of facilities. If one wants very good health, to help very good health and remove diseases, then often the god of the sun is worshipped. The sun god is worshipped for good health and to remove diseases, like that. So according to the desires, then people worship different demigods. So this is quite common. So does anyone want to say anything about that before we get into the purport? Okay. Okay, let's read the verse again, text 20.
So is this text 20?
Yeah, text 20. We'll read the Sanskrit again and then start the purport. Kamaisthaistyrajagyana
Kamaisthaistyrajagyana
Prapadyante devata
Prapadante Nadevata
Tam niyama staya
Tam Niyamastaya
Prakritya niyata swaya.
Prakritya Niyata Svaya.
Bob, do you want to read the English translation, please?
Yep. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Sorry, is that what you wanted me to read?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, Gulshan, do you want to start the purport?
Those who are freed from all material contamination, surrounded onto the Supreme Lord and engage in his devotional service, as long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attached by external nature because of the approaching the right goal. They soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is pure devotee and is free from all material desire, or is full of material desire, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should in all cases surrender to Vishnu Deva and worship him, as stated in Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take a shelter of demigods from immediate fulfillment of material desire. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they are in lower modes of nature, ignorance, and a passion, and therefore worship various demigods. Following in the rules of regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshipper of the demigod are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of Supreme Lord is not misguided, because in Vedic literature there are recommendations for worship different gods for different purposes. That is, a diseased man is recommended by worship the sun. Those who are not devotee of the Lord thinks that for certain purpose demigods are better than Supreme Lord. But a pure devotee knows the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, AD 5.142, it is said that Ikla Ivashra Krishna Ara Sabha Pratyaya, only the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is a master and all other are servant. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigod for satisfaction of his material need. He depends on Supreme Lord, and pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. So, Lord Krishna, give me whatever you think I deserve. Don't ask me, because every time I use my brain, I end up with a ditch. So I'm not going to use my brain anymore. Lord Krishna, give me whatever you think I deserve.
That's a nice realization. Thank you for sharing that, Gulshan. Yeah, you're definitely.
That's the truth, actually. That's the truth, absolute truth.
Yes.
Means, if you're using your brain, it means it's like they were saying, if you love anyone except Krishna, you will definitely will get disappointed, guarantee. If you do love anyone except then Krishna, you will get disappointed sooner or later. So, Krishna is the only one to love. No other one. Not human, not demigod, not devta, not demon, nothing. Just Krishna.
I mean, I think we need to clarify that when you say if you love anyone else, you get disappointed. I mean, that's really looking at if you just are seeing the person as their external, as just the body, and if you love that. But actually, a pure devotee loves everyone. But what he's loving is not just the external, like the body of the dog, the body of the woman, the body of the man.
He will see everyone in Krishna. That's why.
Seeing everyone as part.
That's loving the Krishna. He's loving Krishna. Actually, he's not loving me, you, or Bob. He's seen me or you and Bob in Krishna, and that's why he's loving.
Well, he's seeing that Krishna is within everyone, but also that the part and parcel of Krishna is in everyone too.
Yes.
So he loves that part and parcel of Krishna, and he loves Krishna, and Krishna's everywhere within the dog and the cow and the human.
So directly or indirectly, he's loving Krishna.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
he's loving Krishna, and he loves all the parts of Krishna. But yeah, I agree that if you're saying, that, we try to love. We have male friends and female friends and pets and so forth, and they all lead to disappointment.
Definitely.
Bosses, some bosses, some, servants or whatever like that, and it just leads to disappointment. A relationship with politicians leads to disappointment. So many things like that. Maybe neighbors and, so-called friends and so-called society. and leads to a lot of heartbreak and disappointment. So yeah, I understand what you're saying there. The devotee realizes there's if we try to love anything in this material world can lead to a lot of disappointment and so forth like that.
That's right.
But if we come to Krishna realization, then we can actually love everyone, everything, you know, and it won't lead to disappointment, you know. So it's just a matter of having that central point of all the relationships as Krishna. And once we know that, then like I remember Prabhupada said that before I used to have one small family and there was so many problems. And now he said, now I have a big family, spiritual family, and there's no problems. So he's referring to, you know, he has so many disciples. So many disciples. Before he had one wife, and I can't exactly remember how many children. Did you read that recently, Jayanti, in the Leelamrita? How many kids Prabhupada had? I think he had about 5 children. But let's. Okay. Prabhupada had approximately 5 children. So Prabhupada said he had one wife and 5 children. There's many problems. But then as the spiritual master of ISKCON, he had thousands of like spiritual children, thousands of spiritual children. And Prabhupada said there's no problems in this. So it's just a matter of having that spiritual foundation to our relationships. You know, I remember before I came to Krishna consciousness, I was very antisocial, and I had a bad experience in all different kinds of relationships. I felt very uncomfortable, and I preferred to be in the forest and being with plants and trees and so forth. And then after I came to Krishna consciousness, then I like being with people, and any kind of interactions I'm happy with, and I can mix with anyone. Doesn't matter. You know, I'm happy to mix with anyone. So that's a big transformation. That previously I had a bad experience from relationships, but then after Krishna consciousness, then any kind of relationships goes much better. And I'm sure many of us have that experience.
You know why is that?
Why?
Because you surrender. So everything is good. Before
Yes.
you wasn't surrender.
Yeah.
That's why you was thinking everything you're doing yourself. Now you surrender, Krishna, whatever. Give me half a bread, a full bread, or no bread. I'm happy.
Yeah.
So no problem at all.
Yeah, like it mentions at the end of this purport that how the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. So if you're like that, if you're satisfied, and that's a very important quality to have, satisfaction, and that if we have that satisfaction, then whatever we receive, we're content with that. We're satisfied. Like, for example, if one day you get a big banquet of food, you're satisfied with that. And of course we normally would be. But then another day, if you only get like a plate of rice and a bit of soup or something, or a piece of bread and butter, then you're satisfied with that too. So and there's no expectations that every day I have to have a big banquet. No, whatever the universe or Krishna, you know, is providing me, I'm satisfied with that. And one great scholar named Chanakya Pandit, in the history of India, he's very famous. Even in Delhi, there's one street named after him, or one area, Chanakya Puri. Chanakya Puri, yeah. So very scholarly Brahmana, teacher. And one verse he said is that Santustya Trishu Kartavya Swadare Bojane Dane.
Say it again.
It says, we have a Sanskrit scholar with us today. Josh is there.
Santosha.
Santosha Trishu Kartavya.
Trishu might be like vision.
No, Trishu means like tree, three.
Oh,
three.
okay. Yes.
Trishu, tree, like tree. Eka do, tree. So tree meaning three. And kartavya, which means to do, or I think to do.
Kartavya is the duty.
Doing this or something, yeah.
Doing, yeah, like doing. So it's saying, do be satisfied with three things. Do be satisfied with three things, and that is swadare. Swadare means one's wife. So be satisfied with the wife that you have. Don't be like dissatisfied. Oh, I don't like this wife. If I had another wife, a more beautiful wife, or a more obedient wife, I'd be happy. I'm not happy with this one. You know, so one should be satisfied with whatever wife one has. And then bojane. Bojane means food. So whatever food one gets, one should be satisfied. And then swadare, bojane, dane. Dane means whatever wealth, done. So whatever wealth one has. You know, if you work hard and you do your duty and you've got $500 at the end of the week, be satisfied with that. Don't think, oh, if only I had $1,000, if only I had $2,000, if only I had $10,000. No, if whatever you get by your honest work, whatever you get as an outcome as a result for that, be satisfied with that. And then it says, santustu trishu na kartavya. So there's a na in it. So this one is saying, do not be satisfied with three things. Santusta trishu na kartavya. Do not be satisfied with three things. Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means the study that you do. This scriptural, spiritual study that you do. Do not be satisfied with that. Santusta, no, what did I say? Swadhyaya japa. With japa means, the meditation that we do. Yeah. Don't be satisfied with that. And danayo. Danayo means the charity that you give away with what you give away. So some things we shouldn't be satisfied with, according to him, which is, we agree with that, that you should want to study more. I'm not studying enough, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, or whatever. I'm not studying enough, I should do more. I'm not chanting enough, I should chant more. I'm not giving enough charity to help others for the welfare of others. I'm not doing enough for the welfare of others. I should do more welfare activities to help more other people more. And those are all very, pardon me, that's going to be good for us to have satisfaction in some areas and dissatisfaction in those other areas. You shouldn't, if you're satisfied with your spiritual progress, what's the problem with that?
You're not going to grow.
I'm doing enough chanting, I'm doing enough reading, I'm doing enough devotional service, enough bhakti, I'm doing enough. What's the problem with that?
You haven't set a high enough bar.
No, you haven't grown.
But yeah, that's the thing, you're not going to grow. I mean, even if you did set a high bar, but what if you reach that bar? Are you going to be satisfied with that bar? No, then you want to move the bar even more higher. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they do in sports, right? They'll have a, set up a high a goal like that, a high bar, like if they're a jumper, for example, and eventually they might be able to jump that bar. Are they going to just leave it at that height? No, they're going to take it up another step again. So that's the thing. You always try to do better. You always try to do better. But for us, we always try to do better in the spiritual life.
Abhay, can I just interrupt for 1 sec?
Yeah.
Mate, I wrote down what we should be happy with wife, food, wages, unhappy, and then you kind of said study and chanting.
And charity.
So still chanting or charity?
No, both. Chanting,
Right.
you know, whatever it is, mantras, Hare Krishna,
Yep.
or Sitaram, or whatever it is, Om, you know, so whatever your practice is, chanting.
Charity.
And
yep.
then charity means giving away wealth,
Right.
you know, the giving away of wealth.
And
Or
what
it
was
might
the
be,
third one?
what's that?
What was the third one? You
The
said
third one was giving away the wealth.
I got that.
You know, the
So I've
first
got
one was
study,
studying.
chanting, and charity.
Yeah. Studying, chanting, and charity.
That's it.
Those are the three ones to not be satisfied with.
Right. Got it.
And the partner and the food and our
Income.
earnings, those are the ones to be satisfied with.
Got it.
Like that. So the idea is that materially we should be satisfied, but spiritually you should not be satisfied. Does that make sense? So materially, whatever you get materially for your body, you should be satisfied with that.
Okay, so can I just
Yeah.
ask this? So when you're talking about being satisfied,
Yeah.
is that equivalent to being grateful?
I would say that would be included within being satisfied, being grateful. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're satisfied. That can only truly work of being materially satisfied with whatever you have if you are internally getting a lot of fulfillment. If you're spiritually feeling rejuvenated and boosted and you're, you know, relishing inner happiness, then it's very easy for you to be satisfied with whatever you have externally. However, if you're not getting that, like we say, higher taste, if you're not getting the higher taste, then it's going to be very difficult and probably artificial, you know, to be satisfied materially. It's going to be very difficult. So you have to have that inner satisfaction in order to have that, you know, outer satisfaction. Otherwise, it's probably not possible, you know, for someone to be, you know, materially satisfied. And we've seen that in cases where people weren't spiritually developed, if they, you know, tried to live a very simple life or whatever, but they couldn't sustain it. They ended up going back to the materialistic path because they weren't getting that higher taste. So, and they tried to live a very austere life or whatever, but they couldn't maintain that, you know. But if a devotee is experiencing the bliss and the nectar of Krishna consciousness, then they can be happy. You know, like what we're doing. We're living in quite a remote place, and you know, just a simple a house and a bit of land and like that, and very little income, just enough to maintain everything, and just try to grow a little bit of food and everything like that, and be satisfied with that. So that's the way that many devotees try to live, you know, live a very simple life, very basic life, not always running after more and more and more, but living a very simple life for the purpose that we have more time to increase our spiritual dimension of our lives. You know, why would we want to live a simple life and not, you know, make lots of money and everything? Is because that takes up so much of our time. So we want to free up our time so we have more time for like soul searching sessions, for chanting our rounds, for reading Prabhupada's books, for spreading Krishna consciousness, you know, helping other people like that. Like one thing we are hoping to do here is to set up some kind of place like a bhakti tree here and distribute prasadam and help people in Krishna consciousness and to chant stuff like that. So that's only possible if we have the time, you know. So
can I ask a question? Is that going to be in your area or?
Yeah. There's a little town, a small town, 5,000 people, about 20 minutes away from us.
And does it get tourists?
Yeah, it gets tourists in the summertime. Yeah.
Bob,
So,
I know where you're going. Where's your ideas? You know what you're thinking, Abhay Prabhu? He's gonna come.
what's that?
He's Bob's gonna come to you. You can see that. The questions he asked, that it means he's got something cooking in his head. Summer coming, I'm going to Abhay Prabhu.
Yeah, no, that's nice. Everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome.
You're still
Nice.
you're going to run cooking courses?
Yeah, all these things we'd love to do. All these things we'd love to do. But yeah, it's only possible if we live a simple life. Then we have time for all these things. So yeah, materially be satisfied, but spiritually not satisfied. Spiritually, we always want to do more and more. Of course, spiritually, the devotee is very happy, but we are very happy. But the thing is that the devotee wants to do more and more for Krishna, to give more happiness to Krishna. It's not that the devotee is thinking, spiritually, I'm not feeling happy. I'm not happy enough. I need to get more spiritual happiness. That's not what we're talking about. It's that spiritually we want to give more happiness to Krishna. That's how the devotee thinks. It's not that the devotee is thinking, I need to chant more japa and more studying so that I'll feel more happy. No, the devotee is feeling so happy with his chanting and studying and everything, but he's feeling, I'm not doing enough for Krishna. I need to do more service for Krishna. I want to give more happiness to Krishna. I want to become a better devotee. I'm not a good enough devotee. And I don't know how to give pleasure to Krishna. I want to find out how to become a really pure devotee and give more happiness to Krishna, make Krishna more happy. So that's the dissatisfaction, that feeling I'm not serving Krishna well enough, good enough. I want to do more. I need to do more. It's not that we're feeling dissatisfied that, oh, I'm not happy as I'm not happy being a devotee, like that. I want to go and do something else. No, the devotee is feeling very happy, but wanting to give more satisfaction to Krishna. So that's the idea there, and that's love, and like Bob said, gratitude. So realizing that Krishna is giving us so much. He's giving me the food that I eat, the water that I drink, the air that I breathe, the sunlight that I enjoy so much and keep me warm. And he's given me a nice house and money and a wife and everything, relationships and everything. And now we think, well, what can I give to Krishna? Krishna's given me so much. He's giving me this body in which I can become Krishna conscious. And he's giving me this human form of life. He's given me so much, and I'm very grateful for that. And now, what can I do for Krishna? So it's not about what Krishna can do for us. He's automatically giving everything to us. Now we think, what can I give to Krishna? And I'm not giving enough to Krishna. Krishna's giving so much to me. I'm only giving a little bit to Krishna. I want to give more to Krishna. So that's the dissatisfaction.
It's the same comes that what's the Kennedy says, what's the country? You should not be thinking that what's the country did for you. You should have to think what you did for the country.
Yeah. That's exactly that. That's exactly right. That's exactly the principle. And that's what this verse we're reading now. These are people that are on that mentality of what can the country do for me. So they're like thinking, what can the demigods get for me? If I worship this demigod, he'll give wealth to me. If I worship this demigod, he'll give me a good wife to me. This one, he'll give me good health, like that. So yeah, that's one mentality, but it's not the best mentality. And in that way, then one doesn't have that sense of gratitude. One doesn't have a sense of gratitude, and one thinks, I deserve better. I deserve more, like that. And one's never satisfied. Even if you give an ungrateful person, a dissatisfied person, even a wonderful, sumptuous meal, he'll probably still find some fault with it. Oh, there wasn't enough salt in that. Oh, there was this was too oily. or this doesn't taste good, or whatever like that. It still will never be satisfied like that, and that's very miserable life, when one's never happy, never satisfied, always thinks, I deserve better, I deserve more, like that. Very frustrating. So yeah, this in the purport, Prabhupada's saying here that those that are freed from material contamination, in the beginning of the purport, those are freed from the material contamination, surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in devotional service. So we've read about that if you have full knowledge, and text 19 said that if you have one in full knowledge surrenders to Vasudeva, knowing that he's everything. So then Prabhupada's mentioning here that the next step following surrender is to engage in devotional service. So some people may wonder, well, what does it actually mean to surrender? What does it actually mean to surrender? But the result of surrendering, that, from now on, Krishna, I'm yours. I'm your servant and you're my master. So that's the surrender point. That I was thinking I'm the enjoyer, I'm God, I can do whatever I like, I can gratify my senses, eat, drink, and be merry, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But now I'm turning around, and now I surrender to you, and from this day onwards, I am yours. I'm your servant, and you are my master. And how can I serve you? Please engage me in your service. So that's what naturally follows on from that surrender point, that revelation that one gets when the soul realizes that I am part of God, I'm part and parcel of God, and I'm his eternal servant, and he's my master. I should surrender and do what he wants. And previously, we always want to do what we want, satisfy our senses. But at the surrender point, you don't want to just please your senses anymore. You want to please God's senses, please Krishna. So that what follows on from surrender is that we engage in devotional service. So, for example, when someone's not surrendered to Krishna, then they talk all rubbish things for their sense gratification, talk about sports.
If they're not surrendered to Krishna, they surrender to something, whether it's a material thing or demigod or something.
Yeah,
they
that's
have
right.
to have something they're surrendered to.
Yeah. So normally we're surrendered to our senses, we're trying to gratify the lust, and we are servant of the lust, and servant of the greed, and servant of the anger, and servant of the envy, and servant of the pride. Or you could say, and servant of the, as a servant of lust, then we become servant of a woman, like that. Or we become servant of money, isn't it? How many people become a slave for money, you know? And or a servant of a slave for power and position. I have, to become the CEO, the boss. We become, completely victimized by that, wanting that power and that position, and completely mad after these things. So these
Sorry, mate, can I tell you, when I look back at my youth, and I'm only going back a few years ago, mate, one of the things that got me into lots of trouble was ego. There, I've come out and said it, Gulshan. You'll hold that against me.
You're not the only one.
You should never tell a friend.
You're not the only one, Bob. We all are. If you drop your ego, Krishna is right in front of you. Ego is the one in between you and Krishna.
That was the biggest hurdle for me, because I was ignorant. I guess that's the only way to look at it. But Christ got into a lot of trouble.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But you come to the right place. It's association with Abhay Prabhu. You will be fine.
Sorry if I interrupted.
That's okay. No, that's okay.
That's very, very always good to have personal examples, one's personal experiences is very, because we have, of course, theoretical knowledge, but it's good if we can connect the theoretical knowledge with our personal life, with our personal experiences. So it's always good to be able to relate it like that. So yeah, these things, that we become a slave to the false ego and the lust and the greed and the anger and so many things. Isn't it? Like some people are completely controlled by anger, for example. They get so angry, and they can't control it. It like controls them. And it causes so much suffering when we become a servant of anger or a servant of lust or greed or false ego. We become so miserable, so, and the devotee feels so much relief from all kinds of suffering by surrendering to Krishna. Because before we were surrendered to lust and false ego and anger and so forth, and we were so unhappy. And now we've finally surrendered to the right place, to the right person, and it's such a relief. And we feel so much peace and happiness, free from all the wicked masters that we had of lust and greed and anger and so forth. Free from having those kind of wicked masters. And now we have such a beautiful master of Krishna. He's so loving and kind and all wonderful qualities, like that. He never cheats us, never abuses us, never exploits us. And he wants us to be happy. And so the devotee feels so happy coming to the right place, the right shelter. That's an important word, shelter. So whatever we surrender to, that's what we're taking shelter of. So if you surrender to lust, that means you've taken shelter of lust. If you surrender to your false ego, that means you've taken shelter of false ego. But those are not real shelters. We don't get real shelter. What do we experience under the influence of all these materialistic masters? What do we experience?
I think more pain, more confusion, more whatever goes along with that. Gulshan, you're the expert there.
Yes, like stress and anxiety, fear. Fear is there for everyone, if you have a materialistic master. There's so much fear.
The fear of losing what you got.
Yeah.
But the devotee, he knows everything belongs to Krishna anyway, so I'm losing nothing.
That attachment, if you can let go of that, being attached to stuff.
That's right. But it's not that easy. Let go is not easy. It's a very easy word to say, let go. Not that easy.
Well, like I said, if you don't have something better in your life, then it's hard to let go. So if you're trying to give up material attachments without having a spiritual attachment, then it's going to be tough. But the thing is that it's not that the soul just floats around in the space and not attached to anything, but we want to get attached to the real things. We want to get attached to our eternal relationship with Krishna. So, and if you're attached to Krishna, then automatically you become more detached from all the temporary material things. But if you didn't have any attachment for Krishna, then it's going to be very hard to give up the attachment for, the opposite sex and money and power and all these kind of things. But if you are attracted to Krishna and attached to Krishna, then all these things just fall away. Like when the 6 Goswamis, when they got attracted to Lord Chaitanya, they gave up all their jobs and their wealth. They had, like Rupa and Sanatan, had boatloads of gold. Can you believe it? We can't even imagine how to have that nowadays. But they had boatloads, boats full of gold, and they just gave it all away. But
Lord Chaitanya was Krishna himself. If the Krishna come in this life, definitely I'll surrender. You will surrender. Everyone surrender.
No, I wouldn't say definitely, because Krishna was on this earth, as you know, 5,000 years ago. It's not that everyone surrendered to Krishna.
Yeah.
It was only maybe a few hundred. Only if
Those who know, yes. That's
yeah,
the thing.
many people thought that Krishna was an ordinary person, that he was
It's
just
like
a boy.
in the Mahabharata, Duryodhana also powerful, and Arjuna also. Both are the same under the same Dronacharya. They learned that archer and the best performer and all that. Only difference was Arjuna was surrender and Duryodhana wasn't.
Yeah.
Both has got the same power, but he was surrender.
One
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not automatic that just because if Krishna's on the earth that we're going to surrender.
But then
we still
recognize that Krishna is the God. Duryodhana did not recognize Shishupal, Dushadan. They didn't recognize God is the Krishna is the God.
Yeah,
and
that actually relates to this verse we're doing now. That if you have material desires,
then
then
you
it
can't
takes
see.
away your intelligence. It takes away your knowledge.
That's
so
right.
that's what happens. You immediately get covered over by that. If you have material desires.
And then you can't see through. You got a gold walls around you.
Yeah.
You have to drop those walls to see that.
Yeah. And that's the Maya, that we get covered by
that's
Maya.
The Maya. Yeah.
So yeah, if you have a desire to imitate Krishna and be God, to be the enjoyer and the controller, then Krishna's energy, Maya, covers us over.
Yes, that's Krishna's energy. But if you cross that Maya turn around and help him to meet Krishna.
Correct.
If you get over that Maya, and the Maya will do the other role to helping you to go towards the Krishna.
Yes.
But it's not easy.
No.
We're all trying that. But it's association of devotee, it helps. If I had association of businessmen with my Gloria jeans and all that, it wouldn't help me. But if I come into the temple, it helped me a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Gilshan, just go back a little bit. What did you say?
What happened there? 1 hour thing, Prabhuji? We have to disconnect and connect again. 1 hour thing?
Yeah.
Remember every year, every Thursday after 1 hour, it just get a bit wobbly?
Okay.
So
let's all sign out. We'll sign out.
Okay.
And close the call and we'll come back in again.
Okay.